All right. Hello, I'm here today with Rick Walker in District 26. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
26 in Johnston County. And so this is a big race. I mean, you're looking to unseat Donna White. How long has Donna been in office?
3 terms. And before that, she was in the Board of Education for about 10 or 15 years.
Okay. All right. And so why are you running?
There's a few reasons. One, I believe we need people that represent us with a backbone. I'm just going to come out and say it.
Mhm.
I think we need to be represented by people that aren't afraid to stand up for what we believe in and what we know is wrong. For instance, last year, she said to us at a meeting that if you don't like the mandates, you can just go find another job. That was the day that I knew that something had to change. And then the more I looked into it and the big pharma connections and home builders connections and Clean Energy Alliance connections, there's a lot of money that get poured her way. And it just makes sense now to how we aren't being represented properly.
Well, that Clean Energy Alliance is a very, very problematic. It's a malevolent force in the state. Most of the PACs here are this shadowy group with this solar lobby, and all the money goes in through that. You've got a judge race, a Superior Court judge race, and they're dumping a lot of money into one guy. Our candidate is Paul Holcomb. That would be the Superior Court judge, because we don't want special interests controlling our Superior Court. But to your point, we do not want, especially pharma, special interest controlling your representation there out of Johnston County, because really it affects everyone in North Carolina. I know a lot of you watching are saying, well, I'm in, Cleveland County or Mecklenburg or whatever. It doesn't matter, because as you know, Rick, once these reps get onto these committees, we can really get screwed. Let me give you an example. The Education Committee, the Senate Education Committee, we have Mike Lee in Wilmington, and we have Deanna Ballard in Watauga. That would be Senate 47. These two make a lion's share of the decisions coming out of the General Assembly. And look where we are today. We're with CRT. DPI has zero oversight and accountability, none whatsoever. We've got this social emotional learning crap that this guy Mike Lee in Wilmington is pushing. And it's just terrible. And they're bought and paid for by special interests. So Rick, we've got
a big problem I have is the lack of they don't say anything. So Ms. White, she can say, oh, I don't support that, or she can come out when things become politically expedient, but she doesn't stand up. The CRT at the commissioners meetings, I went and spoke. To reopen the schools, I went and spoke at the Board of Education meetings. To take the masks off the kids, I went and spoke. And there's nobody. There's nobody there doing anything. Nobody being proactive. And now when it's become politically expedient, they want to start saying something.
Right.
And that's what bothers me. I also found out in the General Assembly that they're not pushing the Save Women's Sports bill. You want to know why? Because they're afraid of corporate pushback. I was told that in the General Assembly by a leader in the Republican Party. Where are the people speaking? Where are the representatives saying this isn't right?
I was down there at the General Assembly. I was down there the day that they pushed this bill off, wouldn't allow it to get onto the floor for a vote. And I actually went on Bannon that morning, and I said, look, the reason why this act isn't being pushed is because Google, Apple, and Amazon have relocated part of their campuses to North Carolina. And we just had a big meeting the week before last in Charlotte, where we had a couple of House members on our panel. And I said, what are you going to do to stand up to the woke corporate stronghold in this state? And they said, well, yeah, it's definitely a different problem. But Rick, they told me, let's get the supermajority. They're telling me that's
an excuse. It's just an excuse.
Yeah.
It's just something so they can say, so they don't have to defend the position, so they can stay in their bubble and I'm not going to be part of them.
Yeah. And have us work our asses off to get some weak Republicans in. And look, if this is going to be a red wave election, and I believe it is, we have to have the right Republicans in. To your point, one with a backbone. Look at what they're doing in Florida. They're able to stand up to the woke mob, and we need something like that here.
I could never imagine our General Assembly standing up to Disney.
Yeah.
I couldn't, even though that's DeSantis and it's the governor, but he has to have backing from the General Assembly to do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if Dan Forrest would have won or a Republican would be in there instead of Cooper, I still don't. Mark Robinson, maybe, but I don't think the General Assembly would. Yeah. And it goes a lot deeper. Environmental and social governance is part of the Great Reset, and that's being pushed at the state level. And that ties everything to what we're talking about, the corporate influence in our representation.
Yeah, well, I've often thought like you that a lot of these legislators, Republicans included, they read the tea leaves, they see the signs, and they're just trying to secure their role in the new world order rather than serving the people.
Yep. It's a shame. Something's got to happen. I'm going to fight like hell for it. We'll see what happens. But David versus Goliath is what a lot of people are calling it here, because in Johnston County, as far as I've known, no sitting state representative has ever been taken out by primary. From as far as I could see. So it's not easy, but we're fighting for it.
Well, here's what we know. We know that our base is depressed, and we know because we've been knocking on doors, we've been out there, you've been out there, and it's unfortunate. And like we talked about before, there's just a trickle of folks right now at the primaries. A lot of people are thinking a couple things. Number one, their vote doesn't count, right, with election integrity. And number two, they're have a lot of trepidation about voting because they're afraid that they're going to be in the same mess. So they do feel let down. And I don't know how it is in your county, but in a lot of counties, there's a pretty weak GOP infrastructure. And so a lot of people don't feel like they're taken care of, which is why it is so important to vote in the primary. We can no longer allow the party to pick our leaders. We have to pick people like Rick, who you've been showing up, you've been making your voice heard, and you're looking for the opportunity to lead.
Yeah. Not only is there a weakness within our GOP in Johnston County, but there's also another influence here that is trying to buy this election. There's a PAC here that I believe is illegal because I believe they've been operating for almost a year now, and they just filed a week or two ago that put out a conservative voter guide that is nothing more than to buy influence. And there's people walking up to the polls with this voter guide, the same people we're talking about on it. And these people are believing because it got sent to their house and it says conservative on there. So not only are we fighting the party establishment, but we're fighting this influence that has ties to the party. It's a mess. It's really a mess here. And I'm doing whatever I can by being there all day and I make sure I set myself up to when that card gets handed out, I follow it up. I'm not going to let that card get handed out with me at least saying my piece.
Yeah, no, I know you've been working very, very hard. And Donna, I think she's sweating her hind end off. I mean, I hear she's dropped a lot of money on radio ads, and she feels like her position's being threatened because it is. I couldn't be happier.
Radio ads, billboards, a lot of things, but that PAC that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and that PAC, it's funny. They say that their whole voting guide process was up and up. Last summer, they threw a fundraiser for the leaders of that PAC organization threw a fundraiser for a week later, or a couple weeks, whatever it was. He presented the leader of the PAC with a Republican Leadership Award.
But
do I really think that voter guide was done fairly with no bias? Absolutely not. But
so are you saying they just became a PAC?
They just legally, yes. End of April is when they filed. And I know, because I'm my own treasurer, that I know there's laws that when your first, what's it called? First piece of operation or something, the first thing you do as a PAC, that's when you have to file, or that's when you have to put it on paper.
Yeah.
So there was no way their PAC was formed at the end of April.
Yeah,
and they've been accepting money for a lot longer than that.
It takes you 48 hours to form a PAC, so it's not that difficult. So you're right. It's not something like a 501c3, for instance, that we had to wait for 6 months to get. It usually happens within, 2 business days at the most. So you're right. But it's very frustrating because we don't want party leaders, like I said, picking our candidates. And what we've seen, not only in Johnston County, but all over the state, unfortunately, is you've got these other PACs that say, oh yeah, we're the the Conservative Leadership Coalition, and they're busy putting Democrat candidates up, even in Wilmington, against some of the conservative candidates, just to keep everything status quo. Where this year is not about status quo. People are pissed, Rick. They are pissed off, and they want change, and they're demanding change, and the cries are getting louder and louder. I don't think people are going to accept the status quo here. Certainly not in North Carolina, because for the past 20 years, we keep voting and electing Republicans and going, okay, we're going and winning elections, but we're losing the state. How is that happening?
Because the Republicans aren't standing up for what their voter base wants them to.
Yeah.
And it's creating apathy. And that's what's gonna change the color between red and blue in this state. It's gonna be the apathy. It's gonna be the people just throwing their hands up like you're talking about, saying there's no point. These people don't represent me. So it's not gonna be Republicans start voting Democrat. It's gonna be Republicans stop voting.
Oh yeah, we've seen that before. Remember the Mitt Romney election?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the record low turnout rates at a time that we needed turnout the most. And so, yeah, and I keep telling people that we can have Virginia or we can have Georgia. We know what happened in Georgia, right? The voters felt disrespected. They didn't feel like their votes counted the first time. No efforts were made between the 2020 election in November and the runoff in January. And a lot of them, a good many of them, threw up their hands and said, you know what? If you're not going to take care of us, we're not voting. And I'm not agreeing with that. That's just what happened. Look at what happened in Virginia, though. The parent movement came out very strong. The GOP wrapped their arms metaphorically around this movement and said, hey, we're going to help you out. We're going to take the mantle of your cause. And look, they had, get this, record turnout. And I want you to know this, Rick, 98% of the Republican voters who came out to vote when they were asked in an exit poll, do you think your vote counted? They all said no, but they had faith and they did it anyway, and they went to vote anyway. So that was what was remarkable.
That's a testament to what we need. We can't quit and we can't give up. No matter how long the odds are of me winning, going against an incumbent, and what I just told you about Johnston County politics, I still have to be out there. And the funny part is, they didn't expect this out of me. They didn't expect me to be at those polls for 10, 12 hours a day, my family being there with me sometimes. Today I'm running here to do this, and I got to run and coach baseball at 7:15. I'm doing it all. And I'm talking to these people, and I'm telling them why I'm running, and I'm giving them the difference. And it's frustrating the heck out of them because they didn't expect it. They expected me to just roll over and accept defeat, but I'm not, because I believe we're going to win.
Well, as Reagan said, they counted on you to be quiet, and they counted wrong. So,
another thing that Reagan said is we have to fight.
Oh yeah.
Freedom has been handed down through the bloodstream. If you don't fight and defend it and protect it, you're going to be telling your kids and your grandkids one day what it used to be like to be free. And I'm not willing to do that.
Well, it's more than that. If your kids do not see you fighting right now at a time like this, they'll never learn. They'll never learn. They're not learning this in school. We know that. We have to start teaching our kids to fight, not only at home, in the world, and in school. We have to do that. We have to do more of that. But I'm glad that you're running. I mean, we're supporting you. So look, we're having a door knocking event for you on Saturday. And so we're going to meet at a destination at 9 a.m. We're going to have some breakfast. We're going to go knock 3,000 doors on Saturday. So we need as many people as possible to join us. And what we want you
so much.
Absolutely. We want you to hit us up at edfirstnc.org. Go to events, edfirstnc.org. Go to events, sign up for this event. It's going to take us, if we get 50 people, it probably will take maybe 3 hours to knock 3,000 doors, but the job has to be done.
I will share that.
Yeah.
I was planning on being at the polls to talk to people, but someone from my family will be with you.
Great. Oh, that would be great. That would be awesome. So we're going to love that. It's going to be a very big event. So everybody will want you to sign up. The last day of early voting will be on Saturday. So just know that, the last day. And then Sunday, no voting. Monday, no voting. The 17th. Okay. I think polls open at 7:30 a.m. I'm not sure. So double check wherever you are. Okay. But May 17th is a must. We're expecting 20,000 voters to come out on the Republican side. That is anemically low, but that's about the average when we look at 3 cycles combined. So that's a 20,000 get. And so you're going to need 11,000 of those votes just to have good cushion, right?
Yeah, the early voting's been very slow. Somebody asked me in the beginning how many votes I needed. So between Donna and her opponent in 2020, they got 10,000. That was in a presidential primary. Did I say 20 or 10? I said 10, right?
10, really?
10. Yes, 10. It was like 7,000 to 3,000. And that person, all he did was put his name on the ballot. He didn't even campaign. He did nothing and still got 3,000 votes. And the one before that, she didn't get primaried in 2018. So the only thing I had to go on is a presidential primary. And from what I'm seeing now, I don't know if I'm even going to need 4,000. That's how bad this turnout is. We need to get people out here.
We need to. Well, we've got the Senate race. That's what's different than a presidential year. A lot of people are going to be coming out in Johnston County. That's District 13, Congressional District 13 to vote. That's been just a wild, wild west of a race.
You should see this. It's what I've seen so far politically in the last 7 months. I could write a book on that. Not even involving myself, just what I've seen.
Yeah. It's crazy. We also have a Superior Court judge race. Now, Superior Court judge is important. Let me tell you why. Because guys, God forbid you have to sue your school. Okay. You're going to run into Superior Court. So this guy, Paul Holcomb, is our guy. 14 years on the bench, extremely pro-family, pro-parental choice. The guy he's running against is not. The guy he's running against attacked our movement unmercifully and tried to put us out of business.
Really?
This guy's opponent. Yeah. This guy's opponent is a complete charlatan. And I have to tell you, he's a lobbyist and a trial lawyer. We have no room for a lobbyist and a trial lawyer on the bench for 8 years. Paul Holcomb is our guy. We're also knocking doors for Paul. Stellar man. I think Paul has been elected 4 times already out of Johnston County on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't know that about the other. That's interesting.
Terrible.
From what I've seen and been hearing, it's kind of interesting to start hearing this stuff and putting facts behind faces and what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, his opponent also put social emotional learning, or helped put it into the schools. I mean, he was working with Dan Forrest at the time too. We got to get that policy out. I know that you're committed to doing that. So look, this Saturday, we're meeting up at 9. We'll post where that meetup is. We're going to have some donuts, some coffee, meet and greet. Go out in teams. You won't be door knocking alone. There'll be 2, 3, 4 people going. It's usually a lot of fun. I already checked the weather. It's going to be great. Rick, part of your family is going to be with us, and it's going to be a good time. So May 17th, that's Tuesday. That's your primary date. Check it. Don't wreck it. Be there and vote.
Yes, please. Please help us fight this. That's all I can say. It takes all of us.
Yeah,
we need every vote.
Vote like your child's life depends on it, because it does.
I tell people I'm for faith, family, and freedom. I fight for my family. I'm going to fight for your family. That's all. Yeah. I promise that. At the very least, that's what I'm going to do every day.
I believe it, because I've seen you do it already. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Donna has been nowhere to be found. I wouldn't know Donna White if she stood up in my soup. And I do education. I'm in the General Assembly all the time. I don't know her, but I do know you. I've seen what you've been doing, and it means a lot. So thank you, and we'll see you guys this Saturday, door knocking, and then on either Saturday early voting or on Tuesday.
Thank you.